Hello everybody, Cambing here. Just want to do a quick technical commentary of a game that I had on the stream earlier today. This is in the Heart of the Swarm beta. I'm playing the blue Zerg in the top left, and my opponent is the red Terran in the bottom right. And so what's interesting with this game is that he goes for a Widowmine contain on me. So if you aren't up to speed with the Heart of the Swarm changes, and they keep happening at a pretty rapid clip, so props to Blizzard for that. Widowmines got changed so that they're no longer expended when they're tripped. Instead, they fire a missile, kind of equivalent to their explosion, that regenerates after 40 seconds. And so what's been happening on the beta is a lot of people have been going some sort of quick Widowmine play. So when you normally get a Reactor Hellion, kind of like what he's doing here, you'll instead fill that with Widowmines. Just pausing real quick. If you're not familiar with what a Widowmine is a 2 supply unit. And come out of the factory. It comes out of reactor factories, or it can come out of reactor factories. You don't need a tech lab for it. It costs the same as a roach. And we'll see in a second. So he's going to start out here and build 2 Hellions. And just to point out, I'm still kind of trying to figure out what to do against this. So I'm opening up quick gas here with the intention of being able to counteract any kind of Widowmine rushes. And you're going to see that the gas actually doesn't help terribly much. So go ahead and unpause here. He's going for a quick expand behind this. I scout this. It looks like he's actually going to go starport. What a lot of Terrans have been doing on the beta is actually just going for a 1 base all-in with Widowmines, going off of 2 factories, one with reactor, one with tech lab, and just throwing Widowmines. So I'm going to pause here for a second, slow it down, and so here are the little Widowmines. Actually, I'm going to back up, just so we can kind of see them walk in. So Widowmines actually move pretty fast to the first thing. So they move at 2.81 speed, and I lost my Lings again, but they move about the same as Lings, and these Hellions got in, they didn't do any damage. And I made some reactionary roaches. So we're going to follow these guys along. And so what Terran have been doing is Widowmines are actually pretty hardy. They have 90 life, and so 2 queens alone can't stop them, so the Terran just kind of walks in, parks them, and then buries them. And so what happens here is he's actually about to fire his missile. So the Widowmines have this unstable payload missile that deals 160 damage and then does 40 splash. And so 160 is a crap load. It's not enough to kill a queen, but it's enough to kill a roach, and certainly enough to kill a bunch of drones. And the splash is 40 damage, as I mentioned, which will actually kill all adjacent drones. So it's actually very powerful, especially if they get in the mineral line like this. And so if I actually had my roaches down here, the Hellions did a good job distracting. I might have been able to stop this, but what he could have done instead, and you'll see in a second, is just burrow them where they stood on the ramp, and then just kind of walk them up as more Widowmines came in. And a lot of Terrans have been doing that. So I'm going to unpause here. You can kind of see it go off, kills 1 drone, almost kills my queen. And so this is a pretty bad position. Once Widowmines are in my mineral line, I'm kind of hosed. You can kind of see them repositioning here. And so what I did was, I'm going to pause again real quick. In addition to getting the Roach Warren, I got an Evo chamber early, so I can get down some Spore Crawlers so I can detect. And so I'm going to place 2 here, try to cover my entire base. And what these roaches are going to do is simply zone out the Widowmines. You see 2 roaches weren't enough to actually stop that Widowmine from burrowing in time. So finally, Queen's going to come in. We can actually pause here and look at this again. Like the Widowmine range, it doesn't actually say what it is, but it's approximately 4.5 StarCraft 2 units, and a Queen has range 5. So it's barely able to outrange the Widowmine explosion. But as you can kind of see here, what he's going to be doing is he's going to be funneling along Banshees and Widowmines just to keep me contained. So I actually couldn't see that. Should be able to see that in a second. So there's the Widowmine. I'm going to send 1 roach in, thinking that I can kill it before the Widowmine dies. The answer is no. And so that's actually a pretty even trade. I mean, that's an exactly even trade for the Terran there. which is good because I'm on the defensive right now. We kind of look at the food supply, it's even, and I should actually be ahead, especially since I'm making roaches right now. And so what I'm going to do, kind of look again at the overall cam. He's got a small contain set up, 3 widow mines. And what I could have done here, I guess, is probably just morph an overseer and just kind of brute forced it. Although the Banshee would have actually done a good job of killing most, if not all, my roaches. So what I'm going to be doing is take my third here. Usually I take my third down here on this map, but since the contain's happening in the front, I'm going to take the back third. I'm going to use a swarm host to try to break this. So I got full saturation going. He's slowly building up his widow mine force. I'm going to go ahead and times 2 this real quick. And so he's going to be doing something that's rather annoying. He's going to be using Banshees to get in my base while I'm kind of stuck out front here, or stuck in my base with widow mines covering it. So Banshee's kind of annoying. And so what Terrans have been doing, which I think is actually a little more effective, and I'll talk about where he kind of goes wrong here. He's actually going to do some great damage here. He's going to deny my third, among other things. Terrans have been going Widow Mine, not Banshee, but Tank. And that's particularly strong because against mass tank, you really, really want to have mutas out to be able to deal with the tanks. And the Widow Mines have the nice benefit of being able to shoot up. And here's kind of the silliest part of the game where we're going to pause and look at that has transfusion, that has transfusion, that almost does, that almost does. And yet I still let this die anyways, which is kind of bad. And that sets me back a little bit. I think I managed to at least get some swarm hosts out. This is good. I'm going to go ahead and make an infestation pit, Hydraless Den. And the Hydra Den is there to support the hosts. I particularly like going host Hydra in this matchup right now. It's just very, very cost effective. As long as you kind of micro the Hydras behind the host waves. You can kind of see how the roaches are trying to step out, and this is exactly the problem with widow mines and roaches. They just do a good job of clearing out the roaches, and you really have to spread apart the roaches in order to be cost effective at all. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out swarm hosts. And you kind of see here, and I'm just pausing a second. The widow mine blast actually does a great job of killing the swarm host. Looking at the health, it's not enough to kill the swarm host out, or the locusts from the swarm host outright, but they clump up enough that 2 widow mines can actually deal quite a bit of damage. And what I particularly like this unit is that the widow mine in particular, is that it seems kind of strong right now, and it probably will get toned down a bit, but the zoning that it provides the Terran is just ridiculous, and it's something that you really haven't seen in StarCraft 2 yet. Like tanks, I mean, you can get mutas, and that ends up being kind of a poking game. Here, it's kind of different. I'm going to pause. What I really want to be doing, and I don't do it here at all because I'm kind of scrubby, is I want to be spreading out whatever I'm using to clear out these units to minimize the explosions, right? Because all these are on 40-second timers, so if I have, say, for example, was that 14 locusts, and if I get to trip each of these widow mines individually, that's killing all of them in one wave rather than waiting 2 or 3 waves like I'm going to be doing here. You're going to see if I don't spread them out, I actually waste a lot of time. So there's lots of awesome micro potential, not just from the Terran perspective, but also the Zerg or Protoss or opponent perspective in general, just to be able to deal with the widow mines effectively. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly push my way out of here using my overseers. And if he had actually brought a Viking along, this would actually be really scary for me right now. I would have to delay this even longer. So just kind of slowing it down. Behind all this, he's taking his fourth rather. Has his third fully saturated. Tons of stuff in his base, lots of production. And so by all rights, I should be kind of hosed right now. But I think the one mistake he makes is that swarm hosts do an awesome job against everything that isn't a tank in the Terran lineup. And I guess Banshee and Battlecruiser technically too. But digressions aside. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be really cost effective. Looking at the units lost tab, and I like looking at this whenever I use swarm hosts. I'm actually catching up. Actually, I already did catch up. Already 200 minerals ahead after being behind for so long. And that's just the power of Locust cost effectiveness right now. So I'm finally going to push him off. And so the cool thing, another cool thing about Widow Mines is that I can't just move across the map. I really need to babysit my detection, because the Widow Mines can hit air. And 2 Widow Mines will kill an Overseer, and if I lose my Overseers, I lose my ability to push. So let's see here, going back. So here I finally get to be on the offensive. Whoops. I'm going to be pushing out with Host Hydra. Again, my favorite unit comp in the game right now. And so my counter push strategy is slowing this down again. I should be grabbing my Hive right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zone out the Terran here, and Widow Mines are not. The Widow Mines kind of help. They can, I guess the intention, maybe they function as tanks sort of, but the refresh is just too long, I think. You would need a pretty big critical mass of Widow Mines, I think, in order to hold off swarm, like this number of swarm hosts. What is this? 12 swarm hosts. Like you would with just like 5 tanks or so. So speeding back up again. And so what I get to do with the swarm host that's awesome, and I really like doing this, is I can zone out the Terran back into some kind of position he doesn't want to be in. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to push him back into his base. Either isolate these units so I can pick them off with my Hydras, or force them in the base so I can actually go ahead and take the third. And that's what I'm going to do here. I should be floating an Overseer just a little bit further. I did there. Good. And so the Hydra's going to come in. Sorry about the camera. Be able to push the Terran around. Finally going to take out his 4th, which I didn't even bother to check to see if it was his 3rd. But yeah. Without tanks, there's not much you can do about this, so he eventually taps out here. Which was luck on my part, really. If he had gone tank, this is probably a very different story. But yeah, so that's the Widow Mine in action, and at least one example of how you might be able to defend against it. In general, in this early game business, kind of jumping all the way back here, like, jumping back a little bit more. Like, with this wide ramp here, if he had Widow Mine rush really hard and just produce straight Widow Mines instead of these 2 Hellions, I think I would have been in a very hard position to hold it. Like, the best bet, I think, is to Spore and Spine, like this front here, just to be able to ward off any kind of Widow Mine rushes. And then from there I can actually drone up. Like right now, the problem is right now I can't drone at all. I've already fully saturated my main. So yeah, that's the Widow Mine in action. Cool unit, adds a lot of interesting dynamics to the game, and we'll see how it gets changed in upcoming patches.